just a disgusting story came out about how a select, group of individuals used what was supposed to be a COVID relief money to feed, wait for it, children, that you couldn't get any worse with this story, for their own luxury items. They fraudulently, this is what's being alleged and investigated by the DOJ, fraudulently used $250 million, stole it from this federal program that was supposed to be going towards feeding children during the pandemic. It's already a program that exists, but this was, a surge of funds for the pandemic to feed children. They used it, they got that money and used it on luxury stuff. So here is a little bit about this from Forbes. The Department of Justice charged 47 people in Minnesota with allegedly stealing $250 million from a federal program that provides meals to low-income students, the largest in a string of massive alleged fraud schemes involving COVID-19 pandemic relief funds. The DOJ charged the defendants, most of whom are from Minnesota, with conspiracy, wire fraud, money laundering, and bribery, and what it described as a massive scheme to defraud the Department of Agriculture's Federal Child Nutrition Program by misappropriating money that was intended as reimbursements for the cost of serving meals to children. Okay, so then looking at kind of the specifics of how this went down. Prosecutors say Amy Bach, the executive director of an organization called Feeding Our Future, oversaw the scheme and recruited people to open more than 250 federal child nutrition program sites throughout Minnesota. So he encouraged people to set up sites that were pretending to be serving food to these low-income students so that they can then have a cover to funnel money to themselves. The DOJ says the defendants claimed to be serving meals to thousands of children a day just after the nutrition sites were formed. But in reality, they created shell companies to enroll in the program and to receive and launder the proceeds using false documentation. The defendants allegedly obtained and distributed about $250 million in federal funds, which prosecutors say they used to purchase luxury vehicles, fund travel costs, and buy real estate in Minnesota, Ohio, and Kentucky, as well as Kenya and Turkey. Just the most garbage human being thing you could possibly do. Here's this being reported on CNN initially.
And the Justice Department is now announcing charges against 47 people who were accused of stealing pandemic money meant to provide food for needy children. That money adding up to a total of $250 million. According to the DOJ, this scheme is the largest COVID-19 related fraud uncovered by investigators to date. The defendants, who were connected to a Minnesota-based nonprofit, were allegedly using this money to buy jewelry, houses, and luxury cars. And the Justice...
okay. First, I want to say, this is our Justice Department working. The DOJ is busy these days, sheesh, and doing what it's supposed to do. And it is holding people accountable for fraudulently using this money. So good. Awesome. And we have seen a lot of people get caught for incorrectly using, spending, or getting federal relief funds that were supposed to be for pandemic purposes or pandemic response, economic reasons. But just from an individual story, what's being alleged here, what these individuals have been charged for, could you get any less moral? Like, okay, you want to steal money from the government. That's one thing. But you want to stand in the way of that money from the government getting into the hands through food of needy children? Ooh, that takes, another level than I could conceive of bad human morals, just a complete lack of them. And that is super heartbreaking that anyone would feel the need to do that, or the need's the wrong word, would feel the ambition to do that. And we have seen, unfortunately, many cases of, because it was such a hectic time, this money going into the wrong hands, or people using it, funneling it incorrectly, and it not doing what it was supposed to. Now, largely, of course, it did get to the right people. It did do what it was supposed to. So I'm very glad those bills were passed and those funds were sent out. But just the fact that people would use the chance of a pandemic, of this crisis, just the hectic moment that we were in, to try to spend on luxury cars or spend on themselves is devastating. And it's so brutal. It's one of those moments I swing back and forth between being like, oh, people are good. Oh, I've had all these good interactions and humans are just good at their heart, to horrible. Some people are just absolutely terrible and have no empathy or care or compassion for a single other person on the earth. And that's really sad to see. So you do understand, obviously, there's good and bad. And that's the correct answer. But this one really tries to take away my optimism in human beings.